This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association, joining you on a free-for-all Friday. Excited to bring to you some special guests this morning. In fact, on the line right away, first thing in the programming hour, is Kelvin Hullett with the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce, and we're working alongside the Chamber to introduce a topic that could have profound impacts on us as an industry as well as business in general in the Bismarck-Mandan area. So I'd like to say good morning to Kelvin. Kelvin, are you with us?
I am. Good morning, Dot. Thanks for having me on. This feels like old times.
It does. So welcome back to the program. We're excited to talk to you about a very specific topic this morning, and that is waters of the United States. And now the Chamber has really taken a lead to prepare and host an event with Representative Kramer to address this topic. We're kind of in the witching hour as we approach the deadline for comments to the EPA regarding this expanded authority. And so if you could just, Kelvin, give us a quick primer for those who aren't familiar with waters of the U.S. What is it and why are we concerned? And we'll talk more specifics as we get into the program.
Sure, Dot. No, and thanks again for having me on. So, I'm going to try not to be too technical because when you get into the technical components of this, you really start to, get into policy geek discussion with a lot of things. And so, to give you kind of the 30,000-foot overview, the EPA is, under the Clean Water Act, charged with regulating the waters of the United States. And obviously this has been going on for a couple of decades. But what happened was a few months back, the EPA came forward and said that we would like to change the definition of what the waters of the USA are under the Clean Water Act. And so it sounds sort of innocuous, and if you read a couple of the editorials that have been brought forward by various folks, they try to make it sound somewhat innocuous. But we, in the business community, as in the home builder community, as in agriculture, kind of across the board in North Dakota, are very concerned about this definition change because it goes away from what they have traditionally used, which is the navigable waters of the USA used for commerce. And so what the EPA has proposed doing is expanding their language, and under the proposed rule, it would include basically anything, ranging from tributaries to ditches to adjacent wetlands, even quote-unquote other waters that could be regulated by the federal government. And I think that as we look at this proposed rule in North Dakota, there is a lot of concern about tributaries and wetlands and how this would expand the regulatory ability of the EPA and how it could impact farming, it could impact construction. And so what we have proposed to do is bring together a meeting on Monday, which will include Governor Hoeven and Congressman Kramer, as well as experts from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. Home Builders Association. We also have the North Dakota Water Users Association represented. We have the Farmers Union, and then the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And so we're going to bring folks together and have some engaged discussions about this proposed rule change and what it means to North Dakota.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's a diverse group of people and associations that you're pulling together to discuss this topic because it has, some far-reaching impacts or potential impacts, like you had mentioned, on business, on home building, on agricultural, and really all aspects that impact us as a population, not only within the Bismarck-Mandan, but greater North Dakota area. And so this event that's taking place on Monday, for those people who do have a vested interest, whether or not they're a part of some of the associations that are pulling together to co-host this event, is the registration open and available for anyone who's interested and has a concern about this?
Oh, most definitely. Registration is open and available. It's $15 for registration because, we're serving breakfast and lunch, and we thought that was a pretty good bargain to get not only speakers, but breakfast and lunch for $15. And folks can definitely register by calling us here at the Chamber or by going to our website, Bismarck-Mandan.com. And finding it there and registering online. And I think we're also allowing for some walk-in traffic on Monday as well. So if folks are interested in this topic, we definitely want to get them out, provide them with the information, and if they have an interest, ensure that they have an opportunity to provide comment to the EPA on this issue.
Absolutely. So that event, again, as we continue our discussion with Waters of the U.S., is available to, anybody with an interest in learning more about it. Hosted by the Chamber, available for registration by calling your office. And that number, Kelvin, is?
223-5660. And you bring up a good point, and let me make sure that I recognize the other folks involved, because in addition to our organization, the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association is a sponsor of the event. The U.S. Chamber, the Greater North Dakota Chamber, the Fargo-Moorhead Chamber of Commerce, Fargo-Moorhead, West Fargo Chamber now, the Associated General Contractor, the Stockmen's Association, the Lignite Energy Council, the North Dakota Association of Realtors, the North Dakota Association of Builders, the North Dakota Soybean Growers Association, and the Landowners Association of North Dakota. That gives, just that sponsor list gives you some indication of the scope of concern about this issue in North Dakota.
Well, we're coming up on a break, Kelvin. What I want to do is have you stick with us because, in addition to defining what this Waters of the U.S. is and what it would mean to really further define what a Waters of the U.S. is not only the impact with more regulation, which we want less of, but it comes down to a dollar and cents type of discussion for consumers out there. So stay tuned. You're listening to Super Talk 1270. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association. Welcome back. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association on a Free-for-All Friday with Super Talk 1270. Joining me on the phone is Mr. Kelvin Hullett with the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce, and we are talking about Waters of the U.S. Exciting topic, particularly because it could have some profound impacts on you as listeners, no matter what it is that you do. If you're a homeowner, if you are in business, if you are working for others in business, this potential overreach of the EPA, again, is something that is on our radar, on the Chamber's radar, and we're actually hosting an event on Monday to make people aware of it and give them the opportunity and resources to make some comments before this rule is enacted. So, Kelvin, are you with us still?
Oh, I am still here, yes.
Just the delayed response. I think it's this technology, right, as it's traveling across the airwaves to reach you, Kelvin.
I went down through South Dakota to get back.
Excellent. Well, we are back and talking about this Waters of the U.S. And what's so interesting is, Waters of the U.S. in essence makes a lot of sense. The federal government exists for a particular reason, and that's to, make sure that they're watching out for all of us as citizens in the country. However, one of our concerns is how the federal government works cooperatively with state and local governments. And what's of concern is this definition or further defining what are Waters of the U.S. again can be seen as some overreach. And so, Kelvin, we talked a little bit about what that means, how they at risk is the fact that they could be defining waters of the U.S. as those creeks and streams and areas that, because of heavy rains, end up having some runoff and contribution to waters of the U.S. And if they begin regulating those, what that means for us as a community. And one of the things that NAHB has really pointed out as far as this particular language and the flaws associated with it would be that, first and foremost, it exceeds the current regulatory authority that should be granted. And so when we're talking about that, one of the things is that this new rule would establish a new definition that includes tributaries, neighboring, floodplain, and riparian areas, again, further defining what is and what should be regulated by the Clean Water Act. Now, when it comes to a cost analysis, Kelvin, have you had some discussions with those who are involved on this panel on the potential cost impacts and how it filters down to consumers?
We have, and that's something that it's so vast that it's hard to really start to quantify. But just to give you some examples of things that folks are worried about, and there's been, by the way, a number of testifiers before Congress from the U.S. Chamber, from the Small Business Administration, any number of folks. And so some of the things that they have talked about is that, for instance, if you're going to obtain a permit to develop in a jurisdictional wetland, that can take, well over 12 months and cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. When the Small Business Administration testified before Congress, and most recently, actually, here in October, they had put out additional information. But according to SBA, they did their economic analysis, and and they felt like the Waters of the USA proposal would increase permitting costs by as much as $52 million annually for small businesses, and mitigation costs could be as high as $113 million annually. And, a lot of those costs are going to fall onto our small businesses. For instance, if, one of the concerns that's been expressed by the construction industry is, if you have additional regulation and permitting that's required, then, you may have interruptions in some of your aggregate processes, all of those sorts of things. So without question, while the proposal, and we're all concerned about clean water, but the proposal we do feel is an overreach, and we feel that ultimately, as we all know, those costs are passed back along to consumers, and so it will result in higher prices. So we, as we look at it, it's not just about the power plants and all of those big, customers and consumers that everybody's thinking about. This really does trickle back into our small businesses and could really change the ability of our small businesses to operate.
And like you had mentioned, there is a concern across all of the members that are participating in this event on Monday that we have clean water and that we protect the environment and the resources that we're given. However, when it comes to this type of regulation, you have to take a look at the fact that we're already, abiding by those kind of, ethics in our areas and preserving the quality of the land and surrounding environments. It's just that this overreach creates unnecessary burdens on everybody. And, the types of waterways that now could be subject to additional permitting and planning, just don't make sense, because a lot of times it's those temporary overruns or reaches as a result of, rainfall or snowfall or whatnot. One thing that's really interesting is some analysis done by the National Association of Home Builders that really does illustrate the impact of price increases. And I know, Kelvin, you're well aware, and I've heard, you've probably heard a lot of stories from your membership regarding affordability of housing and how that's impacting our ability to hire and attract more business. An analysis by NAHB that ties cost increases to affordability, I think, is really amazing. They have discovered with a median-priced new home, if you experience a $1,000 price increase, and that could be a price increase attributed to now the additional planning and permitting required by this act, you essentially have the opportunity to price out 232,000 home buyers just by adjusting the price $1,000. That's how a lot of these buyers are just right on the edge of financing ability. And so I think that's one thing that, we are really concerned about as an industry for housing and affordability is the impact that this has and other regulations on increasing overall cost to consumers.
And that's exactly right. And in fact, if folks attend on Monday, the representative of the National Home Builders Association, and I won't spill all of the beans, but I actually had gotten his PowerPoint today and had to take a chance to take a look at it. And that was one of the discussions that he is going to bring up is the impact on these permits and associated delays on affordable housing. When we look at North Dakota, if you have to do wetland mitigation, it could cost you around $15,000 an acre, is sort of that number. If you have to do stream mitigation, that runs about $200 a linear foot. And all of those costs have an impact on our ability to do a variety of projects. And even the construction industry, I know, has talked a lot about their concern that if we're out on a site and they're doing construction, and all of a sudden under the new rule you have this riparian runoff that maybe wasn't there before, that may be regulated, and you have to get a 404 permit before you can move forward. So the concerns are across the board, and while the EPA says this is a definition change merely to make it clear what can and cannot be regulated, I think as a lot of folks have looked at the fact that they would go from regulating about 3.5 million miles of river and stream to about 8.1 million miles under these proposed regulations, it's a lot more than just a clarification.
Absolutely. And you had talked a lot about the costs associated with abiding by further regulations and permitting requirements on an acreage basis. The other thing that's interesting is that when you consider time as money, because all of these processes take time. And one thing that really alarmed me is when you look at the Clean Water Act and the permits currently associated with that regulation, they have a backlog of permits between 15 to 20,000.
Yes.
Right now, an individual permit takes 2 or 3 years. You add to that the increase of their regulations based on this new definition, and I mean, that's just going to be exacerbated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no question. I mean, when you look at the business community and projects, I mean, time is money. I mean, that is a key component is what are you investing and how long is your money going to be invested before you see a return? And, when you get into these processes and all of a sudden you have, a year or 2 or even 3 years that you're trying to work through just one part of that project, that really does really add up fast. And so, just that whole piece of that is concerning, and again, it's not just for things like when we develop the big projects. I mean, this will go right down to our small businesses, and that's why they've been also expressing concern about this whole proposal.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more, Kelvin, about this event on Monday. Again, People have the opportunity to register through the end of today, I believe.
Yes.
And they do so by either calling the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce or going on their website and registering there. The cost again
is $15.
Okay, and the event times, when do we start?
So on Monday we'll start at 7:45 in the morning, and we'll have some breakfast for about 30 minutes and some networking, and then at 8:15 we will start with our kind of our welcoming remarks, and then at 8:30 we will have our congressional panel. And that will be U.S. Senator John Hoeven and U.S. Congressman Kevin Cramer. Unfortunately, while Senator Heitkamp wanted to join us, she is not going to be able to for this event, but I know that she's also expressed concern about this proposed regulation. And so we're going to have a moderated discussion with our 2 congressional representatives on the impact of regulations on business development and agriculture. And there will be an opportunity for folks in the audience also to ask our congressman questions on this issue. And if you've been following both, really all 3 of our congressional people, but in particular Congressman Cramer, has, I think, been very active on this issue and recently had come out with some maps that he had been able to attain, and it showed kind of the scope of the waters that would suddenly come under control of the EPA, and I think that was one issue that really brought this to light in North Dakota and made a lot of people kind of sit up and go, we need to talk about this some more. So we'll have the congressional panel, and then we'll take a little break, and then at 10 o'clock, we'll have what we call the National Stakeholder Panel. And this panel will be moderated by Bill Kovacs, and Bill is the Senior Vice President of Environment, Technology, and Regulatory Affairs for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And Bill is a longtime friend of ours here in the Bismarck-Mandan and North Dakota area. And so he's going to moderate that panel. Speakers on that panel are going to include Mr. Mark Watney, who's the president of North Dakota Farmers Union, Owen McDonough, who is the Environmental Policy Program Manager for the National Association of the Home Builders. Ryan Norrell is the staff attorney for the Missouri River Stakeholders and the Water Users Association. And we have Jason Bohr, he's the president and CEO of the North Dakota Lignite Energy Council, and then Mr. Matt Haidt. And Matt is a policy expert with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And so each of those folks are going to have a few minutes to present some remarks, and then, again, we're going to have a moderated discussion, and folks will have the ability from the audience to ask questions of these folks. And then finally at lunch, to wrap up our event, Lieutenant Governor Drew Wrigley will be our keynote speaker. And we're looking forward to hearing from him as well on this important issue. And the state has been weighing in quite extensively on this proposal from the EPA.
Excellent. Well, I think Jim is giving us our cue that it's time to take a quick break. Kelvin, thank you so much for joining me this morning to share the insight regarding the event featuring Waters of the U.S. and an opportunity to get educated and take some action to prevent this from taking place. For additional information, please visit Bismarck-Mandan.com. Check on that Waters of the U.S. If you could, please register, attend, and tell others about it as well. Thank you, Kelvin, for joining us.
Right now, it's 54.
Your news leader, weeknights at 6 and 10. Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association on a Free-for-All Friday with Super Talk. We just got off of the phone with Kelvin Hullett, the president of the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce, and Kelvin shared with us a very important event they are hosting, and we are also sponsoring alongside the chamber, and that is the Waters of the U.S. event. It will take place on Monday morning. Registration is open through the end of today. You can register by calling the chamber at 223-5660 or visiting their website, which is bismarckmandan.com. And for important topic to make yourself well aware of and take some action regarding the commenting period, which is ending shortly. Some broad overreach that's being attempted by the EPA to really require builders, like the builder I have with me and who's joining us next, to follow through on additional paperwork, permitting, and costs associated with construction. And so with that, I'd like to introduce the listeners out there today to the president of our association. It's not too often I could say I'm speaking with the president. And that president is Vance Vetter of Vance Vetter Homes. So welcome, Vance.
Hi, Dot. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so let's talk just a little bit from a builder's perspective about waters of the U.S. I know that you're familiar with stormwater regulations, all of the rules and regulations regarding how you have some contouring and runoff and really incorporate, safety and environmental concerns on a site. This waters of the U.S. Could potentially require that more areas require more permits and more costs. And from a builder's perspective, what are your thoughts on increased regulations?
Well, the stormwater issue has been going on for quite some time, so we need to make sure we maintain all of our stormwater within our developments and within our lots. Adding more regulation to what we already have is just going to increase all of our costs, as well as create more paperwork. So I think we need to really be looking at this serious. So
absolutely. And, speaking on behalf of the builders, I mean, it's not that the industry doesn't have an appetite to preserve the environment. In fact, I think we've got some very responsible builders in our community who are doing work above and beyond what's necessary. It's just at what point does the cost benefit outweigh the realities and what we can gain as a society over these regulations. So Waters of the U.S., make sure again that you get registered for that event today. It's taking place 7:45 a.m. It's at the Bismarck State College's National Energy Center of Excellence. So a great venue, excellent lineup of presenters and speakers. Now let's talk a little bit more about the BMHBA in particular. We've got our own events that are taking place this month. In fact, I'd like Vance to share kind of his personal perspective on an event that we just came off of, and that was our Fall Awards Mixer. Fall Awards Mixer took place on October 30th. That's where we celebrated all of the award-winning builders from the Parade of Homes. We bestow awards on different price categories from a judge's perspective. So we've got judges that go around, but then also people's choice, where those who get in the home can vote on their personal favorites. So what did you think of the event that we hosted to celebrate?
I think we had a great turnout of people. I think we hosted about 150 people and had some great awards. All the recognized builders for their efforts into the Parade of Homes, which is extremely difficult if you haven't done a Parade of Homes before. The time that it takes to put one in, get everything ready, and organize all the people. There's a lot of effort that's put in. So I'd like to thank all the subcontractors and contractors out there for putting in that effort. Again, I think we had a record number of homes in the parade as well. So it was a great turnout, and I'd like to thank everyone.
Yeah, so an excellent opportunity. Again, the one thing that we like to talk a lot about, too, as we're out and about in the community and talking to the builders and associates, subcontractors and is the value of membership. And I think the Parade of Homes is a wonderful example of some value you gain as a member of our association. In order to put your home in the parade, you have to be a member. So as a builder who's participated in the Parade of Homes, what does putting a home in our parade mean for you as far as, your ability to market your business, to sell some homes, to expose your craftsmanship?
The marketing on one home alone, just to try to sell it on your own, will cost you probably twice as much as what a weekend or 2 weekends of having a parade home in. So the value of it is really invaluable to be able to bring 2,000 to 3,000 people through a home all in one weekend and hit prospective buyers.
So the value's there. The membership is always an opportunity. And that's one thing that we also celebrated at that October 30th event, is that the association has surpassed the 400 member mark. So as president, is that something that you're proud of?
Absolutely. Hitting that 400 sustainable number has been a goal for our association for quite a few years, and I think that we're moving right into that, and we should be able to withstand that number. What it means to me is that we have people in our industry that are really coming around and finding the value in more than just the parade of homes. All the legislation that we do, the work with the city, with our county, and all the other stuff that we can perform as an association that you can't do individually.
So let's talk a little bit about some of those things that we do on behalf of our members. And in fact, the timing is great because you just participated alongside a few other builders and myself in a meeting to advocate for our industry. We had the opportunity to meet with the Bismarck city officials to talk about our industry, how things are going, the processes in place. And that's one of those things that quite often people don't recognize that we do, but has incredible impact on them and their ability to really obtain more business and work more efficiently in the community. So do you want to share some insights, some of the things that we're looking out for when it comes to a city perspective? What is it that we have our eyes on?
The meeting that we just had with the city officials, we were really trying to build that relationship so that when as our town grows, that we are on the front running of everything that's happening.
So building that relationship, making sure that they, reach out to us as a resource, I think for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. We need to be the resource. We're the builders in the town, and trying to create a relationship with the building officials, the building department, is invaluable.
Absolutely. So that was one way that we're working for you. But let's go back again, because I can't get off of the topic of that awards mixer without sharing some additional insight into the awards that were bestowed upon our membership. One thing that we give away annually is a BEAM award, and that's Builders Engaging Associate Members. That's for those builders who really make a commitment to do business with other members. And the recipient of this year's BEAM award were Scott and Vicki Moran. Scott and Vicki with Hallmark Homes. Scott's a board member, very active and engaged in the building industry. So we're proud to hand over that award and acknowledge them for their participation. We also bestowed upon one of our associate members the Associate of the Year award. This year's recipient is Greg Zenker with Ferguson Enterprises. Again, Greg is a very active member of the board. He serves on multiple committees within our association, a really great asset for us as staff as well as the membership in its entirety. But we also gave away a Builder of the Year award, and the Builder of the Year award recipient is sitting right beside me, Mr. Vance Vetter.
Yes.
Surprised by that?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. Being the president of the association it's just been a treat, actually. I've had the opportunity to meet more people than I probably would have without the opportunity to be the president, and also built some great relationships with our city officials, our local builders, some of our national and state builders. So it's been just a great opportunity for me.
So that opportunity that was presented because of your position serving on our board of directors is something that we're going to open up as an opportunity for others at an upcoming event. Our general membership meeting, which will be hosted on November 25th, is that meeting where we review the candidates that are for consideration to those board seats. We've got 3 available, and we have the option to vote and elect some new leadership to the board of directors. There is still some time to submit a nomination if you're interested in joining our board of directors. If you could, what are the top 2 benefits of becoming a board member with the Home Builders Association?
Well, I think the top one is that I believe, and I truly believe, that everyone needs to give back to the industry that's kind of feeding their families. So this is just a great opportunity. The benefits are endless. It's just a matter of how much you want to put into it. So.
And as far as board membership goes, I know that kind of elicits a little bit of fear in people's minds as far as the amount of work involved and the additional requirements. Do we make it easy on you to serve, Vance?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, we have, a meeting a month, and you have some emails to respond to, and a lot of it's just making yourself more informed of what actually is going on in the industry, and being on the board. You really have that opportunity to do that. So, whether you're not on the board or not, just staying informed, this is just one extra way that you can do that.
Absolutely. So board membership, give it a consideration. If you're not a member already, we'd love to have you join us and continue to move forward and upward from that 400 member mark. We've got information on our website, which is bmhba.com. That information, along with that event information for the general membership meeting, again, will we be unveiling the candidates for consideration and giving our members the opportunity to vote and elect some new leadership. You're listening to Super Talk 1270. This is Dot Frank with the BMHBA alongside our president, Mr. Vance Vetter. Please stay tuned. When we come back, additional information and insight about the home building industry, including some conversation on the latest tech gadgets you can incorporate into your home.
Right now, 59.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
Welcome back. This is Dot Frank once again with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association. Thanks for sticking with us. And if you're just joining us, thank you as well. We are talking about everything related to the home building industry. The first half hour was dedicated to a topic that everybody should perk up to, and that is the expanded rules and regulations that are a potential out of the EPA, specifically revolving around the definition of waters of the U.S. You have an opportunity to learn all about that, dine and discuss with some top officials, and those coming from our nation's headquarters, Washington, D.C., out of the U.S. Chamber and the National Association of Builders on Monday morning. The event starts at 7:45 with a breakfast. We'll go into some conversations and dialogues with elected officials as well as those experts of the industry, and then end with a keynote lunch presented by Lieutenant Governor Wrigley. To get information about that event and to register, please visit Bismarck-Mandan.com. That is the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber's website, has registration available. We encourage you to do so, get engaged, get involved, and get active. Now back to my guest that we have in the studio right now, and that is the president of our association, Mr. Vance Vetter of Vance Vetter Homes. We just got done talking about an awards ceremony that our association hosted that we were proud of. Had a ton of people turn out for that event to help us celebrate the award recipients from the Fall Parade of Homes. We do give out awards, both the judges and people's choice for different price categories. So it was a lot of fun congratulating those builders on their craftsmanship. We also bestowed an award upon our Builder Engaging Associate members, the Beam Award that was given to Hallmark Homes, our Associate of the Year recipient, Mr. Greg Zenker, and Vance Vetter, our own Vance Vetter, who was the Builder of the Year for 2014. So a ton of congratulations to all those folks who really work hard to represent well our industry. Now I want to talk about some industry happenings. And one thing that was kind of exciting that came across my desk from our National Association is some insight related to automated homes. And now I'm going to ask Vance to share a little bit about his personal insight in construction and what consumers here locally are expecting when it comes to home automation. But this article, which will appear in the November edition of Building Buzz, that's our monthly newsletter, really talks about how the fact that living like the Jetsons, while once something we just dreamed of, is now becoming a reality with today's technology in the home. I mean, controlling everything from your smartphone, from your ability to lock your doors, to turn on and off your lights, to change the temperature in your home is something that is happening now, and it's available here. So Vance, from your perspective, what are you seeing as far as consumers' demands? What do home buyers want or expect when it comes to technology in the home?
Technology is really a broad industry. So, I mean, some of the technology that we're finding that's coming into that people want are security systems for sure, the audio, the video. But what has changed dramatically is that it used to be very, very complex to be able to install systems that could control lighting and control all these other items. And now most of it can be controlled from an app off your iPhone, which has reduced the cost considerably and also made it available to more buyers.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about security, first and foremost as an option, and that is echoed in a survey that NAHB did. It was the 2014 State of the Smart Home Survey, and they estimated that within the next 10 years, homeowners will be able to use a single remote to control their entire house. Now, when it comes to specific applications of technology in the home, a little more than 70% of homeowners currently have at least one smart home feature. With that, security is the most important feature of a smartphone. In fact, a wireless home security system tops the list of most desired technology and features for 50% or more of home buyers. Right now, they estimate about 15% of homeowners have that feature, but it's something that you're seeing made available. Now, when it comes to adding technology into the home, is that a case where you are having to engage other members, other associates, other businesses to work together to install these systems, or is this something that is added to your list of things to do as a builder?
No, absolutely. We engage. There's several companies around Bismarck that provide those services for security to audio to automation. So, yeah, we definitely engage with them. Standard practice for us is we actually put allowances into our homes so that they can provide that service for the customer, and it's already built into the cost.
Absolutely. Now, in addition to security, one of the features that these respondents to the survey are requesting, in fact, 78% of them are ranking energy efficiency as one of the reasons for incorporating technology. Now, I know for a while there we've had Nest that's been advertised. You see it a lot in the home improvement flyers that come out in Sunday's paper, where you have the programmable thermostats, and now they're digital. I remember growing up and going to turn, much to the dismay of my parents, because it would change the temperature dramatically based on my personal preferences, the little rotary turn style on our thermostats. But what type of technology are you incorporating into homes now that improves energy efficiency?
Starting with the building envelope, the exterior walls, the way that we're insulating them, the type of windows that we're using to get the outside to stay out and the inside to stay in, starting with those items. And then moving on to your furnace and your heating systems. From my best knowledge, the installation of your system is probably just about as important as the system itself. So having a good installer really, really makes the difference between having a very efficient system or not.
Absolutely. So that programmability, have you seen some consumers who are exercising that option to turn up the heat? Or in fact, turn up the volume on their audio equipment with their smartphones?
Absolutely. I'd say probably 50% of the systems now are going out that are running off of a smartphone. They have no other controls.
In addition to the programmability of features in your home, including the HVAC system, outdoor water has the opportunity to be turned on and off with smartphone apps. Your lighting systems also can be tied into those smartphone apps. In addition to this questions asked during this survey, they found that a majority, or 51% of those surveyed, indicated they would pay extra to incorporate these features. Now, that amount varied between $500 and up to $3,000 to make your home a smart home. When you're looking at our market specifically, Vance, what type of cost is anticipated if you're bringing smart technology into the home?
I think that would be a good average, that $500 to $3,000 for starters, depending on what you all are going to incorporate into it and what kind of technology. If you're having security systems that are monitored or not monitored, obviously that changes your monthly fees, or making a monthly fee. So it really, really depends on what you're doing. So
absolutely. But if you're in the process of building a home, ask your builder about smart home technology, because that technology exists and there's lots of opportunities to utilize it. And when it comes to opportunities to take a look at the latest and greatest trends in technology, I'd like to have you help me put a quick plug in for another big association event that will be here sooner than we anticipate, and that is the 2015 Home Show. So again, you've had experience as an exhibitor in the Home Show. What does that entail for people who are putting exhibits in? What's that day look like, or those days over the weekend?
Well, the months prior to your getting your Home Show booth put together, whether you're constructing one, ordering one, or putting materials together to have in it. So it does take a little bit of time, but again, like the Parade of Homes, it's offering up a lot of potential customers in a very short period of time, and you're also got the ability to showcase what you have and what you have to offer in a very short period of time to a lot of people.
Absolutely. That Home Show, again, that's coming up in 2015, will be here before we know it. The dates this year are March 13th through 15th, so make sure you mark that on your calendar, whether or not you're an exhibitor or maybe just a consumer. Pencil in those dates to make sure to come and visit us at the new Bismarck Events Center. Got to remember, they changed that name, the Events Center. Some exciting things associated with the Home Show this year are the fact that we're putting everybody under one roof. really under one roof. All of our exhibitors will be situated in the newly expanded exhibits arena, and instead of also being spread out into the arena where you typically see the basketball games taking place. And so we're having all those booth and vendors together. We've also increased our capacity this year, so we'll have the opportunity to bring more booths, more vendors, more exhibitors to the community for people to get inspired and encouraged to update or perhaps build a new home in our community. So those home show dates, again, are March 13th through the 15th. For those who had exhibits in years past, we've got a renewal opportunity to stake your claim on that original booth space, and that's coming up on November 21st. After that, we'll open it up for the entire membership to take advantage of those booth spaces. Now, November is an interesting month for us. Not only is it jam-packed with lots of HBA activities and events, but it's also a time for us to recognize those who contribute to our association by bringing in more members. And so Vance is on my list again. Vance is one of the top Spike recipients this year, which means he is recruiting members left and right. So Spike Appreciation Month is upon us. That's November, when we like to say thank you to all of those current members who are recruiting additional members to our association. Strength definitely comes in numbers. So when it comes to encouraging membership, what are you telling people that are getting them to commit to join our association?
Kind of as stated before, everyone owes their time and efforts to the industry that you're making your money. So, and it's a great opportunity. You meet great people. You have a ton of time to socialize, as well as to, acquire some new subcontractors and just meeting the industry that you're working in.
Absolutely. Well, we thank Vance tremendously for his support of our association, and congratulations on being one of the top recruiters. And thank you all to those other Spike recipients. And a special thank this year for those who are recruiting include Nathan Jones of Tolberg Homes, and those with some of the top renewals for membership: Paula Heider of Heider Glass Specialties, Kelly Moldenauer of K&L Homes, Rob Sattler, Sattler Homes, Eddie Mitzel of Mitzel Homes, and Rory Schlosser of Schlosser Excavating. Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited to come back to you in about another month. This has been a Free-for-All Friday on Super Talk 1270 with the Bismarck-Mandan Home Builders Association.